Hello everyone, welcome to my Fire Emblem Three Houses Blue Alliance First Impressions video. In this video, I'm going to take a look at the students from the Blue Alliance house, read through their bios and personal skills, share my thoughts on each, and at the end of this video, I'm going to rank each student from my least favorite to most favorite. I'm quite excited to talk about this house, as the Blue Alliance are my house of choice. Also, in reading these bios, I found out that some of the names are of French origin, which is great, because I am French, and so I'm going to embellish pronouncing some of these names. No wonky Shakespeare references here. Instead, we're getting all Les Mis up in here. Anyway, let's get started. Dimitri. Full name Dimitri Alexander Byleth, the next king of the Holy Kingdom of Fergus, the realm of noble knights, and the house leader of the Blue Lions. He's a sincere young man who embodies chivalry, but at times, a faint shadow can be felt behind his cheeriness. Personal skill, Royal Bloodline, boosts users' experience by 1.2. He has assets in sword, lance, authority, and cavalry, but flaws in axes and reason. Dimitri is a pleasant-looking young guy with aspirations for the next king. From the get-go on the first trailer, you could tell this kid was a warrior, sparring not with but against Dedu and Felix, gracefully parrying their strikes. In the next scene with him ordering his soldiers forward, where Claude has a smile on his face and Edelgard has that charisma as an authoritarian, Dimitri is razor focused on taking whoever the enemy is on. I don't know, just seems like a hardcore guy to me. I honestly didn't really think of the noodle hair meme ever when it first came out. I guess I don't really have an eye for that kind of thing, but maybe I just didn't see it at first. But as far as I'm concerned, his Gen 1 look is pretty nice to me. We'll get into more of his personality in the later list, but for now, let's move on to his friends. Dedu. Full name Dedu Molinaro, a commoner born in the Daska region, to the kingdom's northwest, and Dimitri's servant. He owes a great debt to Dimitri and is determined to protect him at the cost of his own life. Because he's a bit scary looking and quiet, many people don't realize he's actually a gentle and very nice young man. Personal skill, Liege's Shield. If user waits without acting, defense +4 for 1 turn. When I first saw him in the trailer, I was like, okay, who is this huge young lad? My question is, are we even sure Dimitri needs protecting? No, I'm kidding. With assets in axe, lance, fighting, and armor, with flaws in flying and cavalry and reason, he is born to be a knight. Although, Dedu might be one of those characters that is pigeonholed into a particular role. He is the only character that we know of so far that has flaws in 2 of the 3 movement professor levels. Three Houses of course lends itself to the freedom of pursuing other paths, but I wonder if that is going to limit his potential at all. Personality-wise, he fills out the gentle giant role, which to me has always been one that I'm kind of partial to. Benny, Hawkeye, Halbindi to a degree, Gonzalez, they're just guys who you want to root for. Mercedes. Full name Mercedes von Maltritz, a kind woman who carefully observes her surroundings and cannot ignore people in need. She's a former imperial noble, but now lives as a commoner in the kingdom. Earlier, she was enrolled at the Royal Capital's Magic Academy, and claims to be a little older than her students. Personal skill, Lives to Serve. When healing with white magic, user restores the same amount of HP. Her only known asset is Faith. Mercedes is the most white mage you're ever gonna get, although we have seen her as an archer as well. That's a first, but credits to Three Houses mechanics. Her background is interesting. If she's a former imperial noble, that could mean she is originally from Adrestia, but moved to Fergus later on. Which would be convenient since she would live right where the academy is. Maybe that's why she left? Her and Anet are besties, and that's pretty endearing and cool. Ash. Full name Ash Duran. The adopted son of Lord Lonato, ruler of Gaspard Castle within the kingdom. He feels immense gratitude and respect for Sir Lonato, who adopted him as a child despite being a commoner and allowed him to enroll in the Officers' Academy. He's a serious young man who studies and trades diligently to become an admirable adult like his adopted father. Personal skill, Wisdom to Live. User can open doors and chests without keys. Ash's known assets are axes and bow with a flaw in reason magic. Something I'm starting to notice is that there's a handful of melee specialists on this team, but reason is a bit of a struggle here. Anyway, Ash sticks out because we already know he's going to be relevant to the first gen somehow, because of a certain story event that I won't spoil if you haven't read any of the Ceremonious Forest articles or my earlier videos. All in all, he's a good kid with a good head on his shoulders. Also, Lonato clearly deserves some credit for being such a good adoptive dad. Ingrid. Full name Ingrid Brundle Galatea, a lady from Count Galatea's family. Dimitri, Felix, Sylvain, and her are all childhood friends. Seeing her serious attitude and admiration of virtuous knights, Dimitri would always say, "You're more of a knight than you think." However, once she lays eyes on delicious food, she'd forget everything. Personal skill, Lady Knight. When using a gambit, might +3 and hit rate +5. Known assets are lance, cavalry, and flying. If you could find any definitive Pegasus Knight in the game, I think it's Ingrid. She's got all the right assets in the right place, and her personal skill is going to help boost her probably mediocre strength when she's using a gambit. The mention of her being childhood friends with the other nobles touches on part of why I'm loving what we know of the story so much. I've always thought that supports with two characters with previous relationships before the game starts tends to have pretty great chemistry. Things like Tethys and Garrick, or Nino and Legault, are some good examples. The students having good relationships is really giving me confidence in the support writing here. She also seems like a good romantic match for Dimitri, if that's a thing. Now then. Anet. Full name, Anet Fantine Dominique, the niece of Baron Dominique. She graduated from the Magic Academy in the royal capital with flying colors. She's cheerful and hardworking, but she can often waste her energy and end up nowhere. Mercedes is a close friend of hers from her Magic Academy days. The pair call each other Mercy and Anne. Personal skill, hard worker. When rally command is used on an ally, grants +4 to target. Known assets are reason and authority. So I really like Anet. A total workaholic, but can sometimes get caught up in either doing busy work or just frazzling out. Kinda relatable. Well, maybe not in the school setting. Where Mercy does great in Faith, her partner in crime does great at Reason. I like her personal skill a lot, because I think she'll pair well with Felix, which we'll talk about in a second. Sylvain. Full name, Sylvain José Gauthier. The heir of the remote earldom of Gauthier. He values his friends and is widely looked up as a dependable big brother by the other classmates. Yet at the same time, he's a hopeless womanizer who loves flirting with girls, which causes him no end of trouble. He had an older brother who was disowned because he lacked a crest. Personal skill, Ladies' Man. When adjacent to a female ally, damage dealt to foe +2, damage received from foe -2. Assets in Lance, Axe, and Cavalry. So Ladies' Man is basically hates to lose, except the genders are switched. So I'm really digging it. So joining Lorenz Gloucester, thank you commenters, is another flirty noble, except Sylvain's got game. I think? He looks like he does. I'll get to more of his personality later, but so far I'm feeling very connected to him, specifically about that big brother part. Remember when Edelgard said the crests are to blame? Well, his brother got disowned for lacking a crest of Gautier. That's a world building contribution. The crests are obviously a sign of power and nobility, and with that comes elitism. There is an ugly side to this crest bearing society, and seems like Sylvain was the lucky draw. Felix. Full name, Felix Hugo Fraldarius. I'm kidding. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's just Felix Hugo Fraldarius. I don't think Fraldarius is even a real reference to anything. The heir of Duke Fraldarius' family. He has a mean attitude, calling his childhood buddy Dimitri a bore. He's sarcastic and fashions himself a lone wolf, but he takes his sword training seriously. So much that he'll instantly challenge any strong person to a bout. Personal skill, Solitary Wolf. When a battalion is not deployed or when a battalion health is 0, damage dealt +5. He has assets in sword, bow, and fighting, and flaws in reason and authority. So yeah, all signs here point to no battalions allowed. I think he's going to pair up well with Anet. Since Lone Wolf is just dependent on battalions and not adjacent allies, you can stack her rally skill with his Lone Wolf. He'll be getting a nice +4 visible buff, and then an extra +5 damage during combat pretty consistently. Check out this edgy man. I like how he just embellishes his lone wolf status. I don't know. I don't think he has some kind of tragic backstory. He isn't just a crest bearer, he actually is one of the few characters that have a major crest. We don't quite know what that implies, but we do see some kind of in-game battle effect from one of his attacks, just like Byleth did in that one screenshot. I think it's pretty cool how randomly Felix is just a major crest bearer. He's more of a Joshua edgy rather than a Rutger edgy, so I can dig it. I honestly kind of think we need more of those kind of edgelords. Now for a list of my least favorite to most favorite Blue Line students. Just like before, these are just my impressions from the limited information we have about them so far. Number 8 on the list doesn't mean they're bad, but they just don't strike me as characters that I find very interesting right off the bat. I really found your lists pretty enjoyable to read the last time. Some guys thought I had bad taste for putting Hilda and Lysithea at the bottom, but to each their own. In fact, this list was kind of the hardest to make because I actually do quite enjoy most of the characters, so it's kind of a tight race. Anyways, number 8. Ingrid. Personality-wise, Ingrid has got the chops to become one of the best knights for the kingdom, and I'm pleased that despite her serious attitude, there's a lighthearted side to her where she just loves food so much she'll get lost into it. Her design doesn't really stick out to me that much though, and I find that one half angle she has a little awkward compared to the rest of them. Anyway, I'm anticipating some funny gags to offset her serious disposition. And I think time is gonna tell for this lady knight. Number 7. Mercedes. Well, I can hear the comments now. Okay, Mercedes did leave a good initial impression because of her design, and I think for a lot of people she's best girl material, and I respect that. But I don't find there's a lot to chew on here compared to the other bios. Number 6. Dedu. When I first saw him in the trailer, yeah, I knew I was going to be initially drawn to this guy. Unfortunately, his personality doesn't quite stick out to me at the moment. If Mercedes is as white mage as you're going to get, then Dedu is as gentle giant as you're going to get. But hey, that's fine. These types of characters are usually adorable in their own way. Gonzalez was dumb as a brick, but incredibly loyal. Benny was menacing as heck, but just loved bears and was actually pretty shy. Halbindi is the best OC in Fire Emblem Heroes, you get the point. He'll have some hidden endearing personality trait that I hope plays out well. Number 5. Felix. Felix stands among the rest as the only major crest bearer besides Byleth. I know he's edgy, but I really think he looks cool, so whatever. Whatever he's doing, the ponytail, the orange eyes, it's working. He clearly also has a sense of humor and doesn't mind being a smarmy asshole at times, but when the chips are down, he turns it up. And to be honest, I was waiting for that smartass character to make it in because when they're done well, it is really entertaining. Let's just hope he isn't racist, like some other ponytailed meanie head. Number 4. Ash. Ash has a lot going on, from his personal skill, which is one of the more exclusive and useful ones in the game, to his background as an adopted kid, just like Marianne. In the same way I appreciate Leone, Ash isn't taking anything for granted and is working hard to make Lonato proud. His background gives me something to look forward to with his supports. I can't really think of anyone off the top of my head who has a similar background. And compound that with the unique setting that is the Officers Academy, and you have me eager to see how his humbleness can affect the other students in the house too. Number 3. Anet. Anet! My Frenchie! This spunky student is out here doing her best and getting the best grades. I think her design is absolutely adorable, and her dynamic with Mercedes is like such a real thing. Can totally relate. She's sort of described as a real-life close friend of mine who is a total keener but will flat out lose her momentum and get derailed over the smaller details. And even though she is a genius, in my opinion, she looks like she has a lot of room to grow emotionally. Maybe Mercy helps Anne stay grounded, and that's maybe why the dynamic works so well between them. Number 2. Dimitri. What I find really intriguing about Dimitri isn't just his Gen 2 time skip look, but it's like the evidence we see about how we get there. I'm gonna bust out a crackpot theory here, but remember that scene when the Flame Emperor's mask breaks and it looks like it's Dimitri's boot that does it? I also took a look at the Flame Emperor's axe design and compared it to Dimitri's lance, and it kinda looks similar in that respect. Is that intentional? Or it's probably just a generic silver lance and silver axe and I'm stretching it? But the boot thing is a little suspicious. Maybe the Flame Emperor is close to Dimitri in some way. I don't know. He has me hooked anyway. Claude and Edelgard are nice in their own way, but everything to me points to Dimitri in Gen 1. Okay, theory crafting for Dimitri is over. His Gen 2 look and personality is an obvious complete 180, but sweet naga is it ever cool. The hair meme died when his right eye did. Since I'm picking the Blue Lions, I wonder how his friends are going to follow him. Felix and Dedu are his boys, but I wonder if his massive personality change will negatively impact the relationships that he has and will establish from Gen 1. And back to this gen, I can start to understand where people are coming from when they say he is the most generic of the 3 lords. But honestly, I kinda disagree. Claude is a sociable guy and Edelgard strikes me as an all-business kind of lady, but Dimitri struck me as the most gritty of the 3, despite being described as a sincere young man who embodies chivalry. Once that Nintendo Direct came, I was more sold on this warrior mentality, or boar, as one smarmy edgelord would say. Top that off with the ominous Shadow mentioned in his description, and you have a lord and character with the most to offer for personality, in my opinion. Number 1, Sylvain. So I really like the last bit about his older brother being disowned because he lacked a crest, as that adds some dark world building to this already lively world, for lack of a better term. But dude, okay, usually I don't get hooked on Cavalier characters, but man, I just can't ignore Sylvain José Gauthier. He's my kindred spirit. So he values his friends, check. Even though that's still pretty relatable, it's still a check. But he's a hopeless flirt, also check. I am way too into dating to hold a relationship, and I work at a gym which has Gymshark overload on a literal day-to-day basis. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. But at the same time, he's the big bro. That's what also resonates with me quite well. I'm sure you college kids have heard of a Dawn of Residence, and in my university, that basically meant that you were a professional big brother. You were certified in CPR and AED, and mental health first aid. And your job was to make sure that your 19 to 28-year-old people were following rules, but were also mentally there. And I'll tell you, some of those experiences were really hardcore. So, despite the easygoing and cavalier attitude that Sylvain has, when the chips are down, he'll be there to guide his friends. We tend to gravitate towards characters we can relate to the most. And while Dimitri has a truckload of intrigue behind him, Sylvain really hits those notes for me. And when it comes to design, I really like that one sleeve up with the arm on the back. I just think his design is also really telling of the kind of personality he has. So yeah, you're my ginger stud, boss. Again, folks, this is just my impressions. No character is outright bad, and each character of their house has their own unique personality, and I fully do not expect these characters to be relying on one-off tropes that might get old quick. So that'll do it for each of the 3 houses. I've now done one of the Black Eagles and the Golden Deer, and now finally the Blue Lions. So guys, let me know what you think of this video down below. Leave a comment and a like, and if you're new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe, because there will definitely be more 3 houses content coming up within the next month in anticipation for the grand release on July 26th. Additionally, let me know what your impression list for the Blue Lions is as well, just like before in the other videos. And with that being said, hope you guys have a good start to your week, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.